Hello everyone. This time we are going to create an ecological tank for semi-aquatic turtles. The tank we're using this time is a landwater tank measuring 90 centimeters long, 45 centimeters wide, and 30 centimeters high. Actually, at 30 centimeters high, turtles can easily escape. However, I later added an escape prevention barrier. Even if I keep a larger turtle, it won't be able to escape from the tank. When building the framework this time, the land area is quite large. By making the land area larger, there will be more substrate below. The aeration stones in the substrate can effectively transform the waste and ammonia into nitrate. As the land area increases, the planting area will also expand. The nitrate produced from the waste is the nitrogen fertilizer known to gardeners. It will be completely absorbed by the plants. This way, an ecosystem is formed. However, the prerequisite is that the size of the plants must be substantial. The volume of the porous stones in the substrate must also be adequate. This way, it can support the tank. To maintain a waste processing machine, there is also a very important point. That is feeding. Many people who keep turtles like to feed their turtles constantly. You could say that they eat as much as they are given. Unless they are fed to the point of being unable to eat anymore, only then will they stop eating. However, allowing the turtle to eat until full every day, this is a significant burden on the turtle. The food it consumes will always be absorbed and converted into fat. It grows flesh quickly, but its shell does not grow as fast. Its organs become increasingly enlarged, pressed against the shell, leading to high internal pressure. The shell can also become deformed. Previously, every time I completed an ecological turtle tank, I would always tell the clients, feed as little as possible. This is not just because it eats a lot. The waste it produces pollutes the environment. The main issue is that many of the turtle's diseases are caused by overfeeding. You just need to control your hand and feed as little as possible. This is better for the turtle's health as well. The entire ecosystem of the setup will also be more stable. Alright, now let's talk about this setup. The area we are working on now is the riverbed. This time, the riverbed is wider, and it is also relatively long. Therefore, to make the riverbed appear more diverse, we have laid many stone slabs to create a waterfall. This flowing water, if you want it to look beautiful, you must disrupt its smoothness. When students are making a riverbed, they might want to give it a try by adding some stones on top. This will create some turbulence. Next, we need to do the hardening. The turtle tank. The tricky part is this hardening process. You need to plan its activity area in advance. Try not to plant anything in the activity area as much as possible. Even when planting plants, you have to plant them in a small gap, so it can't dig up these plants. Plants are inherently resilient. Generally, being pressed down on by it won't kill the plants. But if it tries to dig them up, that's hard to say. In the gaps between the stones, I laid down some gravel. One reason is to strengthen the connection points between stones. Also, after filling these gaps, they become like a hole. For the hardened section, there's no need to spread soil on top. After filling the gaps with gravel, you can just reinforce it with glue. But riverbeds are different. Riverbeds need waterproofing, in addition to filling the gaps with gravel. Finally, you need to sprinkle a layer of soil in the gaps of the gravel to complete the waterproofing. Behind the riverbed is the planting area. This planting area, I surrounded it with a high fence made of stones to slightly block the turtle if possible, to make digging less convenient for it. When planting in the future, the plants at the back must also be planted closely. This is also to prevent it from burrowing back as much as possible. Moreover, the planting area left at the back is actually very narrow. When planting in the future, the root balls must be cramped together. They should be planted together inside. The plants above should be selected to be taller, to avoid climbing back as much as possible, because the plants at the back are not only for enhancing aesthetics, but more importantly, to increase waste treatment capacity. Therefore, protecting these plants in advance is equivalent to keeping turtles in this tank. It will be less worrisome. The land in the left half is also hardened using the same method, because the hardened area doesn't need to have plants, so we directly use foam glue. Just use it as a base. This is something to pay attention to. I left a gap on the left side. This gap is the location where I plan to plant the plants. So in this area, we shouldn't apply foam glue. After the foam glue is compressed, it remains quite hard. The plant roots are not easy to penetrate in a short time, so this gap for planting should be left empty. In the future, we need to fill it with sphagnum moss. When filling with sphagnum moss, make sure to pack it down as much as possible, because sphagnum moss will collapse after being used for a while, and sphagnum moss, it will continue to decompose slowly. The humus produced from this decomposition will also be absorbed by the plants, so if you fill it too loosely, it won't be long before the sphagnum moss collapses. You need to pack it down a bit. The sphagnum moss below will last longer. When planting, you should still follow the principle of having a higher back, gradually lowering in the front. to create a layered relationship. However, considering turtle care, the taller plants at the back should be as sturdy as possible. The low plants in the front should also be as durable as possible. For example, the netted grass, or the sweet flag and creeping myrtle are all fine. Turtles can still rest on them. As long as they don't crush them completely, they can still lift their heads. But some turtles eat plants, like the netted grass, which is one of their favorites. So we can't use netted grass for foreground plants. We can use some club moss or sweet flag and similar plants. These plants that have their own scents should be flexibly used in landscaping. Based on the difficulties you face, think of ways to solve them. If you want to create a good landscape, the fastest way to improve is to make mistakes. Once you finish creating a landscape, you can keep whatever you want in it. Only this thing. If it causes some damage inside, you can realize where the problem lies. You can only solve a problem if you can identify it. The more problems you discover, the more problems you can solve, and the faster you will grow and progress. Friends always ask me how to create a landscape. I don't know how. At first, I'm afraid of ruining the landscape. But if you think about it, what if you do ruin it? It's just a waste of some materials. But you might suddenly understand a lot of things. Creating a landscape is not difficult. The challenge is dealing with the issues within the landscape. If you don't realize the problems, it will be hard to address them. Only by continuously encountering problems can you keep solving these problems. So just get started. Don't worry about messing it up. Even if you do make a mistake, it's just a bit of wasted material. Many materials in the landscape can be reused once you take them apart. The waste won't be that much anyway. The planned location for the misting chamber is definitely suitable for replacing the atomizer, because the atomizer itself is a consumable. Next, we need to install the escape prevention baffle. The width of this baffle doesn't need to be very wide. It just needs to create a negative angle. Turtles actually have quite strong climbing abilities on general vertical surfaces. As long as its claws grip the upper edge, it can basically flip out. You see, with this tank being so low, one could say it would be easy for it to escape. It would be practically effortless. However, if you create a negative angle for it, it definitely won't be able to escape. This turtle, although it has climbing ability, it does not have gripping ability. Plus, there's a shell at the back. There is a shell as long as there is a negative angle. It will surely topple over. Conventional escape prevention baffles only have one on the left. There are also 3 panels on the right and back. Because when I was creating the landscape, I made 2 small land areas in the front. So I added 2 small barriers in the front. This way, it's foolproof. Alright, let's leave it like this. This is rain traces and cloud tracks. Subscribe to the channel to watch more interesting videos. See you in the next video.